Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Gill and today we're going to be doing a sequence that's all focused on the hips. So if you have a block, that will be useful. If you don't, that's okay, we can do without as well if you don't have one. So we're going to start lying down on our backs and we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, so feet together, knees apart. Coming down onto our backs, this is just a nice way to gently open up the hips. You can start to close down your eyes. Place one hand on the belly and one hand on your chest. And begin to lengthen your inhale and exhale. Start to use that lower hand that's on your stomach as a guide. So when you're breathing, you want to feel that hand rising up and down, so you know that you're breathing deeply into the belly. Trying to release any gripping that you may have on your hips, any tension even in your face, just trying to soften for the next few moments. Taking 2 more deep breaths like this. Now you can keep your eyes open or closed for the next part. You're going to take both hands and gently bring your knees back up to center. And now drawing both knees in towards your chest, we're going to start to do some little knee circles. So I want you to keep your hands on the mat if you can, taking your knees out in opposite directions. And with every circle, trying to make it a little bit bigger. And you'll feel when you have your knees further away from your body that it will start to get some of those core muscles working as well. So do one more in this direction and then we'll swap direction. And really trying to get out as wide as you can, trying to really get as much range into those hips before we get into strengthening and stretching them. Okay, last one. Bringing both knees into your chest, giving them a tight squeeze while keeping your tailbone on the mat. And then begin to just rock and roll up to a seat. Cross both legs, come onto hands and knees. And we'll come up into downward facing dog. So tucking the toes, lifting the hips up high. Placing your awareness into your hands, making sure the full palm is planted into the mat. Hands are pushing the ground away so that your shoulders move up your back. And then once you feel like you've gotten a straight spine, begin to make your heels a little bit more heavy. One more deep breath here. On your next inhale, lift your heels up high, gaze to the top of the mat, and walk your feet up to meet your hands, trying to keep your legs straight and your palms planted as best you can. Halfway lift, straight spine. Exhale, fold forward. Taking a moment here. And then rolling all the way up to stand. Keep our feet hip width apart. And on your inhale, hands raise overhead. And on the exhale, split the hands apart back into our Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And on the exhale, planting both hands into the mat and stepping back to plank. So there's an option to drop the knees here if you need. But if your knees are lifted or whether they're on the mat, I want you to really push into the mat so that your upper back puffs up. And then on the next inhale, you'll prepare, Lower, keeping the elbows nice and close to your chest. Drop the forehead down to the mat. Hands reach to either sides of the ribs, elbows squeeze together. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. Pushing back to all fours, tuck the toes, and back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. On your next inhale, lift the heels up high, gaze to the top of the mat, and walk your feet up to meet your hands once more. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward, trying to get the chest close to as thighs as you can, no tension in the neck. And then we'll roll up to stand once more. Now, taking your feet together, I want you to hug your thighs and your shins towards one another. And on your inhale, sitting back into Utkatasana, chair pose. Tucking the tailbone under, taking a quick look down. If you can't see your toes, then shift the shins back. One more breath. Folding back over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift. And on the exhale, plant both hands into the mat, stepping it back to plank. Again, option to drop the knees. But if you'd like to go through Chaturanga, then we'll inhale, prepare. Exhale, keep the elbows close to the body. Come down halfway. Straighten the arms, coming up to upward facing dog. Broadening across the collarbones. And back to downward facing dog. Stepping your feet towards one another. On the inhale, your left leg will rise up into the sky. And on the inhale, drawing your knee in towards your chest. Coming high onto that left foot. And stepping the right foot in between your hands. So we're going to come into Warrior One. So dropping down the back heel. Coming up to a Warrior One. Being conscious that your ribs aren't flaring out to the left. Exhale, hands plant. Back to plank. Lower down through Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. Straight into the left leg. Just keeping that foot flexed, the left leg will rise to the sky. Lots of energy in the legs. Pulling the left knee towards the chest, coming high onto that right foot and stepping the left foot forward. Back into Warrior One, so dropping the back heel down, making sure that back leg is active. Exhale, back to plank. Lower down through Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. Bring your awareness back into the hands like we had before, making sure they're pushing the ground away. Trying to find a part of your body where you can make more space, so always trying to get more space. On the inhale, heels rise, gaze to the top of the mat. Walk your feet up to meet your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And coming back into that chair, Utkatasana. Legs hug towards one another. And then coming all the way up to stand. We're going to go straight back into that chair, sitting back, having your biceps alongside your ears. And now just seeing, can you lower all the way down to the mat without using your hands? You can use your hands if you need. And lowering down onto your back. So we're going to do a little core, so you can have your hands interlaced behind your head, your feet come up to tabletop. You can leave your head and your shoulders on the mat, And what we're going to do is just tuck the tailbone up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, tailbone lifts. Inhale, lower. Just keep doing this, but really articulate the movement, keeping it nice and controlled so you feel the core switching on. We'll do 3 more like this and then we'll add on. So from now on, option to stay here, or else you can lift the tailbone, extend one leg, lift the tailbone, extend the opposite leg. So your head can stay on the mat the whole time. If you want a bit more of a challenge, then feel free to lift the head. We'll do 1 more each leg. And lift. So you can rock and roll up, cross the legs, coming forward onto all 4s. And from here, we're going to make our way back to downward facing dog. Stepping your feet toward one another. Right leg lifts to the sky, foot's flecked, energized leg. Bring your knee towards our chest. Stepping the right foot forward again. So we're going to drop the knee here. You can keep the back toes tucked as well, especially if you have them sensitive knees, you might want to keep the back knee tucked. But we're just going to move between this Anjaneyasana, really getting into the hips. I'm trying to get my hips down as low as I can. I'm really feeling this in my left hip. And then moving back to half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. So just moving between these 2 poses, just trying to gain as much movement as we can in the hips. So the next time you come into that lunge, I want you to tuck the toe, pick up the back knee, and drop the heel down so that you're in a warrior 2 position. So if I drew a line from my front heel all the way down the mat, it should either hit the back heel or intersect the arch. So setting up to what feels best for you, making sure that the knee is facing forward and not caving in. And from here, I want you to keep your hand on the outside of your right knee. And we'll start to windmill the left arm up, opening out the chest. And this time we're going to come up, keeping the legs as they are. So we are in a warrior 2. Constantly self-adjusting. Are my shoulders over my hips? Is my knee caving in? Are my arms at shoulder height? Really engaging that back leg to help out your front leg. 1 more breath. From here, flip the right palm, straighten the front leg, and reverse triangle. Coming back to center, keeping the feet as they are. We're going to come into Trikanasana, so hands and feet, or hands and hips go in opposite direction. And then we want to stack our shoulders. So you can use your block here if you need to help you out. Or if your hand can touch the mat, you can also do that. So we're trying to spin the chest open. Staying here for 1 more breath. From here, we'll take both hands down onto the mat and pick up that back foot so that your toes are both facing in the same direction, so you're in this extended pyramid. Both arms are straight, flat back, and exhale, fold forward. Now rebending that front knee, so we're in a lunge. Take that left hand slightly forward of your shoulder, and we'll turn all 10 toes to the right for reverse Skandasana. So my hips are hovered off the mat. Now we're going to take all 10 toes to the opposite side. So we're swiveling our toes to the opposite direction and coming down into a Skandasana to the back of the mat, side lunge. Last breath. Now staying low, making our way back to the top of the mat. We're going to use that back foot to power us forward. And we're going to come into standing splits. So you can either use the blocks here to bring the earth closer to you, or you can place your left hand in onto the mat, take your right behind your calf to help you get a little bit deeper. 2 more breaths. Bringing your left foot down onto the mat, taking your feet mat width apart, sitting back down into yogic squat, Malasana, taking your hands in prayer and using your elbows to push your knees out, getting deep into those hips. Closing down your eyes, keeping your back tall. Now planting both hands onto the mat, extend both legs, bring them in so that they're hip width apart again, and just taking a forward fold. You can take both hands behind your calves. No tension in the neck. Planting both hands onto the mat, stepping back to downward dog. To do the left hand side, so left leg lifts up to the sky. Knee draws in towards the chest, stepping your foot in between your hands. So from here, drop the back knee. We're going to go into that lunge with your knee down. You can lift your hands overhead so you can really get into those hips. Extend the front foot or front leg. Taking it as slow or as fast as you like, just really feeling into where you feel like you need to stretch. I hope this lovely sunset comes across in the camera. You can't really see the full thing because if I did face the camera in the direction of the full sunset, I was scared it was going to fall off the cliffs, and we don't want that. So from here, tuck the back foot, lift the knee, and we're going to go back into those warrior 2 feet. So dropping the back foot down so my right toes are pointing out to the right. I'm going to have my left hand on the outside of my knee, and we're going to windmill the hands open, and when my hand goes to the sky, I'm really spinning my chest up and I'm feeling it very much in my hip. Now this time, the legs don't move. You're coming up to a warrior 2. So making sure that this right hip is tracking forward, trying to get a 90-degree bend in the knee. It always feels like you're in 90 degrees, but you never are. And my shoulders over my hips. 2 more breaths. Flip the left palm, straighten the front leg, reaching up and over for a reversed triangle. Coming back to center, we're going to make our way back into Trikanasana. So my hands are going to shift this way and my hips go the opposite direction. So it's an opposite direction of both. Then my hand can either come down to my shin, my block, or the mat. I'm trying to keep this hip spinning forward. So your right hip is spinning forward, but your chest is turning up to the sky. Two more breaths. Bring that hand over and down onto the mat. I'm spinning my back foot so that my toes are both pointing in the same direction. Arms are straight, flat back. And then as you exhale, begin to fold forward. Now rebending the left knee, my right hand goes forward of where the shoulder line is. All 10 toes spin to the left for reverse Skandasana. So my right arm and my left foot's holding my weight. I can feeling the stretch in my left glute, and as you can see, my hip is hovered from the mat. Now lifting up, passing through lunge, toes go to the opposite direction and Skandasana to the back of the mat. Side lunge, making sure that knee is coming out and not falling in. Coming back to the top of the mat, we're going to go back into that standing split, so using that back leg to power you up. You can either have both hands onto the mat or the block, and then coming forward, feeling the stretch down to the left leg. One more breath. Right foot touches down, taking your feet mat width apart, coming back to yogic squat. So option to stay like this, or if you want to try crow, then now is a good time. If you do want to do crow, then taking your heels together so you're in this like first position. The ballet ears are coming back. Hands plant down to the mat. I come up onto my tippy toes. My knees hug into my upper arms. I'm looking forward, not down. And you're squeezing the heels in towards you. One more breath wherever you are. And now extending both the legs so you're coming into this forward fold. Grabbing the backs of your calves. Making sure you have some space between your shoulders and your ears. And then we'll roll all the way up to stand again. Now, like we did before, we're going to have our legs drawing in towards one another. We're going to sit back to Utkatasana chair pose. And then we're going to make our way all the way down to the mat again. So we're going to do a little back bend sequence here. So I'll give you a few different options. So we'll start with bridge, bringing our feet towards our hips. So if I take my hands, I should be able to feel the backs of my feet. From here, taking your hands in this robot-like position, making sure my shoulder heads are grounding into the mat. I'm going to push into my arms and slowly begin to peel my hips up. Bringing my chest as close as I can to my chin. Breathing deeply. 2 more breaths. Gently lowering down. Just allowing the back to neutralize, just taking a moment, closing down your eyes if you wish. Now setting up in the same position. Pushing into the hands. Making sure you should really feel this in your legs more than anything. So option to stay here, or if you'd like to come into wheel, then you can take your hands at your ears, making sure your hair is out of your way, like not getting stuck like I am. Coming up onto your head first. Staying here for 5 breaths. Slowly making your way back down. Just keeping your knees bent. You can have your feet a little bit further apart and your knees touching. Just allow your back a few seconds to settle. Now bring them in for a nice squeeze. Dropping both knees over to the left. You can take your right arm out to the right, or supine twist. This always feels so nice after doing wheel or any kind of back bend. Closing down the eyes, trying to slow down your breath or bring it back to a regular pace. Breathing in and out through the nose, really trying to direct that breath down into the belly. So when you breathe in, you can really feel your ribs coming out to the side. Take it over to the opposite side, so knees come off through center, and then just simply drop it over to the opposite side. Two more deep breaths like this. Coming back to center. And then from here, you're going to cross your right leg so that your ankle is over your left knee. And then hugging your left knee towards you for a reclined pigeon. Now you can take this, stay like this if this is enough, or if you'd like to get a little bit deeper, then you can hook your hands underneath that leg and then extend the bottom leg. I have extremely tight hips, so I'm happy just to stay in reclined pigeon. But a nice thing to do is get your elbow and push that right knee out so you're getting a little bit deeper. Now releasing the legs down, we'll just swap legs. Releasing both legs down, extending them out. If you'd like to take any final movements such as happy baby or anything like that, maybe a single single leg happy baby at a time would be quite nice as well if you want to get into the hips. But as we set up for Shavasana, we'll take our feet mat width apart, have our hands alongside us, their palms facing up, shoulder heads on the mat, and a slight tuck of the chin so the back of the neck is long. Closing down the eyes. With every exhale, softening the face, the muscles around your face. Allowing your body to feel heavy on the mat. And take the next 2 minutes to just let go of any tension, and let go if you're trying to do a certain breath count. Just let everything go and just take the next few moments to rest, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out of your Shavasana. Remaining your stillness, start to bring some gentle movement back into your body. Start to deepen your breath. Reach both arms overhead for a final stretch. Bend both knees, rolling off to the right, using your arm as a pillow. Just staying here for one moment. And then pushing yourself up to a seat. Let's do a little bit of pranayama before we end. So taking your thumb and your fourth finger, your thumb will go over your right nostril and your fourth finger will go over your left. Block the left nostril or block the right nostril. Inhale through the left. Block the left, exhale right. Inhale right. Block right, exhale left. Inhale left. Block left, exhale right. Inhale right. Block right, exhale left. So we'll do one more round. Inhale left. Block left, exhale right. Inhale right. Block right, exhale left. Releasing both hands down, keeping the eyes closed. Bringing your hands to prayer at your heart center. Taking the next moment just to feel all the feels and just recognize this state that you've created yourself through this practice, and seeing can you carry this with you throughout the rest of your day. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Bow your chin to your chest. Namaste. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. The sun is like nearly down, so thankfully we still have a little bit of light, but I hope you enjoyed and hope to see you soon. Thanks, bye.